All right, I think we're gonna stream. It's streaming now. Take a little while.
Do you record it also?
Yeah, I'm gonna record, not recording it now, but later I'm gonna download the video and I'll send it if you want it. Yes, and we are live, you guys, with another beautiful, beautiful soul, Karen Flaherty. She's an expert in human design, and it's my honor and a privilege to introduce her to you. I met Karen after a call that I listened to her speak. We were part of this anthology of a book that we published back in February. And Karen was one of the, she was one of the
trainers.
Yeah, the trainers who
For the authors.
The authors, yes, exactly. The trainers of the authors that put together this anthology of stories. And she shared with us how getting to know ourselves through human design is another tool that we have at our disposal in order for us to uncover these gifts that are hidden within us, and how this tool has also given her a new calling. And so before she talks about that, I'm going to read about her. I'm going to introduce her to you because she has a very interesting trajectory, and she's someone who's very passionate and very disciplined in everything she does, and not a coincidence that she's also passionate about her passion. So imagine. So without further ado, I'm going to read to you a little more about Karen. Karen is the best-selling author of the book Getting to Know You. Embrace your unique blueprint to make decisions you love and trust. A human design guidebook. She brings many years of corporate business and life experience to her human design coaching practice. A graduate of the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, Karen has worked in New York and New Jersey in marketing and sales positions for more than 35 years. Her combination of experiences ignited a desire to help others in their challenges, especially with regard to self-awareness and stress management. Karen has studied human design since 2009, so it's been over 10 years, and became a certified human design specialist in 2010. Since then, she has spoken at dozens of holistic shows along the East Coast in the United States, running thousands of charts, and has satisfied her very logical self that human design is the best way to allow people to discover their purpose and their genius. Karen is happy now to be helping entrepreneurs, myself included, coaches, small business owners, and corporate managers find a new way of doing business in the 21st century. Karen has been doing human design full-time since moving to a small eclectic beach town in 2014. Don't we dream of that all? With her husband Jude, where they bike, swim, and kayak with the dolphins. That's where her passion brought her. And without further ado, I give you Karen.
Hi, Georgette. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Great to
I'm
have
so
you.
excited about Unstoppable You. It's a great time to be doing this, right? With everything that's kind of stressful in the world, this is a good time to be actually going a little more inward and
Yes.
finding out more about ourselves.
I definitely agree with that. And I've been emphasizing that. I don't know if you've been catching up with some of my videos. I've really been encouraging people to look within, to start asking themselves bigger questions, to start asking themselves, what is it that I'm meant to do? Why was I put on this planet? What am I meant to fulfill? And that's when we have people like you coming in to, bring a piece of the puzzle into the equation of who am I? Where am I going? What is my purpose? So how did this journey of human design start for you? When did you learn about it at the beginning?
Well, it was kind of funny. I'd been in corporate, as you said, for a long time, corporate America, doing the commuting back and forth to New York most of the time, mostly during that time. But I had a lot of different jobs, and I never quite landed in. I always loved what I was doing, but I never quite found something that I was so passionate about for more than, say, 10 years. And I kind of kept moving around. So I actually was in a number of different industries which sounded like I didn't know what I was doing or I didn't know what I really wanted. That wasn't the case. That they were all in some kind of sales and marketing positions, and my real passion was in healthcare. I worked for a healthcare consulting company for almost 16 years, and that was really a lot of fun, and that grew exponentially. So that was great. But then before and after that, it was a bunch of different jobs that were 5, 10 years, things like that. And then finally in 2009, I heard about human design. And I happened to hear my teacher, Karen Parker, speak down in Princeton at a wellness center, basically, talking about her new book. Her new book was a spirituality book, but she said at the end of the lecture, and I do this thing called human design, and if you'd like to find out more about it, let me know. And find me on the website. And all of a sudden my ears perked up and I just said, oh my gosh, human design, that sounds so interesting. And so sure enough, I go home, I looked it up right away and got the chart, got, a session with Karen as soon as I could, which wasn't until March, almost my birthday. And I was just all in. Once I had the session with her, I said, do you do courses on this? What like is the next step? What else can I do about this? It just seems so intriguing. And she said, I do courses and I just happened to start one. I said, can I get in? I was like very, very taken with it immediately. And the big piece of the session we had together was that it turned out that I'm not emotional. And if you had asked anyone in my family, at least according to human design, I'm not emotional. And if you had asked anybody in my family up to that point, which is I was about 50, just over 50 years old, they would have said, yeah, she's the drama queen. And so it turned out I wasn't the drama queen. I'm not the drama queen. And I was really happy to give up that moniker, right? And so it turns out I can be pretty even keeled. And that's exactly what she said. So I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Not only that, the whole incarnation cross and life purpose and everything we talked about in that hour or so was just so revealing and just helped me so much to see into myself. And then what happens with human design is you get the chart, you might get a session to talk about it as you and I did, Georgette, but then it's like, oh, there's so many different pieces of the puzzle that keep unfolding. And I like that you said it's the pieces of the puzzle, because in human design, we say we're all part of a puzzle, right? This whole of humanity, whether you think of it as a drop in the ocean or a piece of the puzzle or whatever other metaphor you want to use, we're all here together, right? We're all one, just as this epidemic has, kind of gone over the whole earth. We're all one and we're all here together, right? We're all part of the puzzle. So with human design, you kind of get to see which part of the puzzle you are, which is the nice thing. And it just answers a lot of different questions that a lot of the other tools that are out there are great, but they don't answer it in the detail that human design does. And that's why I liked it, because it's very detailed, if you want to get detailed.
Yeah. So why don't you talk more about human design? Because I'm clearly just starting to learn about it. I'm not an expert at all. I just had my reading with you, the human design. I know I'm a generator. So I know there are 4 types of designs, or how does it
5
work?
Yeah.
5 Yeah, I'm not an expert.
So I'll just say a little bit about what human design is or where it came from, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So human design is a personality assessment tool. It's been around since 1987, which makes it relatively young compared to some of the other assessment tools that are out there. But it's quite different because it's actually based on birth information. And so from that birth information, we actually get quite a bit of information in your chart once it's run. But just to step back for a second, human design itself is based on the I Ching, the Kabbalah, the chakra system, and Eastern and Western astrologies on the ancient side. And then on the modern side, we've got quantum physics, biogenetics, and modern math. So it's really a nice combination, at least I feel like it's a nice combination of the old and the new, because those old systems, they pretty much worked. And, it goes back, 4,000 years with the I Ching, right, in China. And then the others, quantum physics and modern math and biogenetics, of course, they're relatively newer, but we're finding out more and more about quantum physics and how that really plays into our lives. And some of the things that even the founder of human design discovered or said at the time in 1987 have actually come to pass. Like he called things certain things or said that they had, for example, that the neutrino, which is the tiniest little baby atom that's out there, is actually had mass. And at the time in 1987, when he discovered human design, the scientists didn't think it had mass. And come to find out in 1994, it actually does have mass. And so just little things like that. But with the quantum physics that is used in human design, really works and helps us to see how connected we are, right? How much we've come from, some from the sky, some from the earth, and kind of everything in between. So that's the kind of the background of human design. And so it is based on birth information. And from that, we basically get your time, location, and date of birth. And from that, we're able to run a chart through the computer. So it only takes 30 seconds that actually tells you a lot about yourself. And those charts will be quite different, even if you're born in the same hospital at the same time, or the same day. If you were born at different times, the charts will probably be different. And so it gives us a lot of information. And the information, the most basic piece of information in the chart is those energy types. We call them energy types. We say that in human design, we're all made of energy. And you've probably, seen or heard about auras or thinking about people in terms of energies. We say that we have 9 different energy centers. And just as if you went into the hospital, for example, and you got an EKG for your heart, and then that's like these little waves on a chart on a piece of paper, right, that reads out. You might get one for your head too, which is the EEG. Those waves would be different. And so that's all we say in human design, is that each of the energy centers actually have different waves associated with them. And that energy is what you interact with other people with. And so you walk into a room, and as a generator, I happen to have 4 out of the 9 centers colored in. So I walk into a room, that's what people feel from me. They feel my head and my ajna, which are both up here. And then they feel my sacral, which has a lot of energy. And then my G center, which also allows me to be quite, to have a good direction in life. And I'm sorry, is that picture really blurred now? Is it okay?
It's just the sun. I think it's beautiful.
The sun just decided to come out. It's been cloudy all day. So we have, when we look at all these different energy centers, we have different what we call energy types, depending on which centers are colored in on your chart. And so the energy types are just a way of kind of, looking at different people and saying that they have different ways of being. I don't like to call them labels necessarily, but they're definitely different energies. And so those energies allow us to interact with each other in a different way. So, you and I can interact over the video here, or we can act differently, perhaps with someone else on the phone or in person, of course. You know how you meet some people and you say, oh gosh, I don't know why we haven't met earlier. It's so great to talk to you. And then with other people, you're like, I wish this conversation would end and I'm about ready to go, right? That's just energy. That's all it is energy. And it's your body telling you that either it's somebody you want to hang around with more or not. Mm-hmm. And so in human design, we have a saying that it's not energy. It's not personal, it's just energy, right? Yeah. So it's really not personal, no matter who you meet, no matter who you want to hang around with or not, it's really not personal. It's just about energy. And so some people get on famously, right? They just can't be without each other. And then other people, not so much. And so it's all good. It's okay. We can actually get along with anybody as long as we know a little bit about them, right?
Yeah.
So there are 5 energy types, and I'll just go through them real quickly, and then you can let me know if you have any questions. But the first one we usually talk about is the manifestor. And the manifestor is somebody who's here. It's only about 8% of the population, and so it's relatively rare. But they're here to start things. They're here to get things started. They're here to start projects and corporations and really have make an impact on the world. And they have a voice that can be heard quite easily, and it's actually quite loud usually. Usually know when a manifestor enters the room. And you probably know some people like that. Just for example, in terms of personalities, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino are both manifestors. George W. Bush was a manifester, is a manifester. So is the Pope. The current Pope is a manifester. So there's a number of different personalities that we know out there who are manifestors. And my favorite story about Robert De Niro is that he had this idea for the Tribeca Film Festival in New York about 12 years ago now. And then 10 years later, he gets an award at the Cannes Film Festival. And he said, what did I do? I didn't do anything. I just had this idea. Meanwhile, he had the idea and everybody circled around and he didn't even have to delegate. They just took it on themselves and created this Tribeca Film Festival, which is now quite famous and quite well known. And so it's those kinds of things that manifestors can get started. The next two types are generators and manifesting generators. They're about 35-ish% of the population each, so 70% altogether. Most of us are generators. As you can tell, Georgette, you and I are both generators, and manifesting generators are people who, well, I'll say all generators have the sacral that allows, it's the red square near the bottom that allows us to go and go and go, right? In the past century, we were the farmers, we were the factory workers, we were the people who really kept the country and the world going. And now we get to choose what we want to do. And so the difference between pure generators and manifesting generators is that the manifesting generators have a voice. It's much more easy to be heard. They're more like the manifestors that way. Generators, not so much. We don't have quite as much of a voice, which is why at the end of this conversation, my voice will probably be going because I've already been on videos a number of hours today. I've had to keep drinking water to make sure I get through this one. And so the generators don't have quite as much of a voice. That doesn't mean they can't get a lot done. They get quite a bit done. People like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs was a generator, Oprah Winfrey is a generator. But then on the manifesting generator side, we've got people like Ted Turner and Richard Branson and people who, Jane Fonda, people who really can be heard, make things happen. And they actually, it turns out that manifesting generators make great business people. They just have a much easier time being heard and getting things done at the same time. On the other hand, they walk fast, they talk fast, they eat fast. Everything happens very quickly for a manifesting generator. And so that can be a little bit of a change for some people. Not everybody's as fast as a manifesting generator. Pure generators happen to be a little more methodical, a little more procedural. We like to read the directions on boxes and new toys and things like that. I don't know about you, but when I first got my first iPhone, I was like, wait a minute, where are the instructions? You know, it's that kind of a thing that we like our instructions. So those are the generators. And then we've got the projectors. They're about 20% of the population. And they're here to be wise. They're here to really direct other people. They make great teachers and principals, administrators, salespeople, architects, consultants, anybody who can be, kind of sit at their desk and have people come to them and ask the questions. They pretty much have the answers for everything. So it's, most of them don't know that, but they pretty much do. And so they're very wise people. And they, as I said, make up about 20% of the population. Some famous projectors are, would be like Barbara Streisand, Steven Spielberg, James Cameron, Robert F. Kennedy, the President John F. Kennedy, and Barack Obama were all projectors. Mm-hmm. And then the last type of reflectors, they're the least, they're only about 1% of the population. So it's quite very rare to be a reflector. Reflectors have every center on their chart is white. And that's the easiest way to tell a reflector. And what that means is that they're here to basically take in the energy of the town that they're in or the community they're in, and then reflect back how healthy that community is or not. And so sometimes the communities are quite healthy and they're happy there. If they're happy and healthy, then everything's good. But if they're not, then they really need to move. It's really better for them to move so that they can be healthy. They're like the canary in the coal mine where if things aren't good for them, then eventually it's not going to be good for everybody. So they're here to really indicate everybody else's health. and how well they're getting along. So does that make sense? Those
Yeah.
5 different energy types. Can you think of people in your life who might be like that?
I can, and I know more generators. It makes sense what you said, but
Yes.
what popped in my mind is how many of us are imitating a role model, perhaps, or someone we admire, and we want to emulate them. We want to be like them, or thinking that sometimes something is wrong with us because we're not like someone else who is, I don't know, we admire someone, that's someone that we want to be like, but it's not even in our nature to be like that, because it's not how we're configured. It's not how our energies are working, not how we should ideally be operating like that, right? And that's where human design enters. It tells us, well, what's your perspective on that? How does human design help you get back on track, so not to make you feel frustrated? Or sometimes we think, why isn't this happening for us? Why isn't this manifesting? Why am I not being able to move forward? Why am I not being able to manifest this dream? I've been working so hard, and I've been doing what I was taught to do, checking all the boxes, going to school and getting a job and going about everything that I was told I should be doing. And now that I know human design, for example, I can speak from my case, my own experience. I know I'm a generator, and generators, like you said, we have a lot of energy. But the thing about my particular type of generator is that I need to wait for that gut feeling. Can you hear me?
Kind of. It's a little lower, but
Yeah. Okay. So I need to wait for that gut feeling in order to jump into the opportunity. Because the problem or the challenge is that once I take decisions from my head and I jump into a cycle, that cycle might be very displeasing, but I won't be able to get off that cycle until I complete the lesson that I'm meant to learn in that cycle. Had I listened to my gut feeling, I wouldn't have jumped into that cycle out of head only. You see, because I was taught and I was raised a certain way, that's where now that I'm learning about my human design, now the next time that an opportunity presents itself, I'm not going to take it from the head. I'm going to take it from the gut and check with my internal system and see if it feels, not see, but feel, if it feels aligned. Otherwise, I might be trapped in another loop where I'm not going to be able to get out of until I complete that cycle, and it's going to be painful, and it's going to be a lot of drama, probably, like it has been for me in the past in corporate jobs where I felt unfulfilled.
Right.
And I see that playing out in my past, how I used to make decisions, and now being this type of generator where I really need to tune in to this gut feeling, to my internal system. It's giving me a guidance as to how I should make decisions in the future to avoid myself unnecessary pain. So in your clients, how do you see them, that human design is helping them better navigate their own lives, have breakthroughs? Or do you have anything, like any case that has stuck out for you, or even in your own life or in your own immediate circle?
Well, so 2 things. You mentioned this strategy, and so I forgot to mention that human design, each energy type has a decision-making strategy. And so I'll just run through those real quickly, and then talk to the other piece of that is kind of why we don't follow our strategy, right? And what happens then. So each of the energy types has and this is to me why it's important to know your type, is because we each have a different decision-making strategy. And so the manifestors, they actually are the only, then that's the 8%. They're the only ones who can have an idea in their head and just go out and do it. And even half of them have to wait for their emotional wave to get an emotional answer, basically. The generators and manifesting generators, they have a strategy to wait for their gut, as you said, that you're going to wait for something to show up in your outer reality that your gut responds to and says, oh, that's what I wanted, right? Oh, that's the red car I wanted, or oh, that's the new guy I wanted to meet, or oh, that's, you know, that's the new dress I wanted, or something like that. And it's really that kind of a feeling. It's almost like a little jump in your tummy that says, oh, that's really what I wanted, right? And so the difference between generators and manifesting generators is that pure generators can just say, that's what I wanted, and then go for it and really proceed, you know, directly. With the manifesting generators, because again, they're doing so many different things all the time and very quickly, they have a process that is, yes, wait to respond and then listen to their gut. But because they have a lot of things going on in their head, it's best for them to kind of reprocess and think about it, figure out who they have to tell that they're going to be doing this, and then go ahead and do it. So for them, we call it informing. That is really good for them to inform. And by the way, the manifestors should inform also. That's actually their strategy. So they can listen to their head, but then they should inform people, because both the manifestors and the manifesting generators can surprise a lot of people in their lives because they don't tell them things. I had a brother who is a manifestor who decided to move to Texas from New Jersey, and nobody in our family had ever moved out of New Jersey. And all of a sudden there's a moving van in front of his house and he's moving to Texas. And we said, what's going on, John? And he said, oh, I decided to move to Texas and find a new job, and I got a new job. Didn't I tell you? And we all said, no, you didn't mention it. And so he's like, oh, sorry. You know, so that's the kinds of thing manifestors and manifesting generators can do. And the rest of us are surprised and a little upset sometimes, but that's totally what's within, because again, they're just moving so quickly. Everything's happening so fast that they forget to tell people things. It's not that they're inconsiderate. It is that they're a little in their heads sometimes. So that's the manifestors, and then the generators and manifesting generators are going to listen to their gut. The projectors have an interesting one. They have to wait to be invited. And literally, if you know any projectors, if you ask them this question, most of them will say, yeah, I kind of figured that out, because they are wise. They are here to help the rest of us, but they have the answers for everyone else. They don't have the answers for themselves. And so if a projector is feeling good about themselves and knows what they're here for, they'll have this almost wonderful glow about them that people just can't help but invite them into things. If they're not feeling so great, then they might be a little more bitter, let's say. That's the kind of the downside of being a projector, or what we call the not self. That's their, they get bitter. And so they feel like, oh, I'm not getting invited to anything. Why is that not happening? But of course, you can imagine that's kind of a loop that keeps going. And for the reflectors, they get disappointed. Their strategy is to wait 28 days, which can be a long time in our culture, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine waiting 28 days to buy a car, or having the salesperson call you every day and say,
oh, now we're going through it right now. We are confined for over 28 days. So yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of reflectors are figuring out what they want to do. But it's best for them to wait 28 days, which just happens to be a lunar cycle, because they're very much the moon beings in the core of the types. So all that being said, we each have our own decision-making strategy and a way to make decisions in our lives, but we've all been taught to be the manifestors, right? To just go out and do it, to just take life by the horns and go out and do it, right? And so that doesn't work for 92% of the population. It just doesn't work at all. And so what we call this is conditioning. We've been conditioned, right? By society, by our parents, by our teachers, and typically by the people who are closest to us. The energy centers in our chart. So say we have 9 energy centers, or the possibility of 9 energy centers. Some of ours are filled in, and everybody else in our family, and then the rest are white, right? So the other people in our family, our teachers, our friends, they have those other centers filled in. We take that energy in and then we amplify it. And so what that makes us feel like is that, oh, I've got that energy. I've got that will center. I can do whatever I want. I've got willpower. Let's go ahead and just do it. And then they go ahead and just do it, and it doesn't work out because they don't really have willpower. When they're by themselves, they have no willpower, but they think they do. and only 1/3 of the population really has willpower. So it's really, most of us don't. Those people who do are people like, the Tony Robbins and the Jack Canfields and Wayne Dyers, who can be up on stage and say, come on, you can do it. I know you can do it, right? They're all the great motivational speakers. They all have will centers. The little red triangle on the chart, that's only 1/3 of the population. The rest of us go to those motivational meetings and speeches and conferences, right? We're there for 3 days. We're like, oh, this is great. I can do this. He says I can do this. I know I can do this. We buy the stuff, we go home, and then we're like, why can't I do this? And so literally it's almost a waste of money. I saved a lot of money, Georgette, since I've started doing human design. Because I used to buy all those courses, all those things, all those, oh my gosh. I mean, I had Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy on, from like 30 years ago, listening to all these things. My father used to listen to a lot of them too. He was a projector, and he was very wise, and he loved listening to all those old tapes. And anyway, it was a good upbringing for what I'm doing now, I should say, because he was so open to finding out new things.
Yeah.
So does that help in terms of the conditioning? Does it feel to you, do you usually feel your gut? Does it feel like you use your gut to make decisions now?
Well, yes, since my awakening, even more, since I awakened and I started tuning in to this inner guidance, my emotional system, and feeling that I was out of alignment with my heart in my career decisions and in where my life was headed in a corporate job. I started feeling that. And now I know why, because I have to go with my inner system, with my gut, with my heart. And that's what generators, the strategy for our lives to live a fulfilling life anyways. Because all of us can exist, but not really live. But that's not the point. That's not the point of us being here. The point of us being here is to live a happy, wealthy, enriching, and fulfilling life. And human design is a piece of the puzzle that will help us get closer to that life, because it's the tool, it's a guidance system, it's a navigation map to our own internal system, to our own strategy, to the way that we are, because it also helps us get to know ourselves, because how many of us can truly say that we know ourselves? We can't even like start scratching the surface. And I don't think personally that the journey of self-discovery ever ends. We were put on this planet to discover ourselves throughout our lives, but if we could do it in an easier way, in a more guided way, human design is a great tool for us to put that into practice into our own lives. And it's not like it's hard to, yeah, like the chart, if you show me the chart, it's like Chinese to me, like I need to hire an expert like Karen. But what I mean, it's like the elements, the way the information is given to you by an expert, and the strategies that you should apply into your life. It's not like rocket science, it's just basic things that we should know from the early ages, from our early years. If only I had known that human design existed even before I made all these big decisions, life decisions, such as career choice. Even before that, what should I major in? No freaking idea. How many of us do we really know coming out of high school? No idea, right? Human design should be taught in high school, you guys, even before that, right?
I know. I actually took a lot of different personality courses. I even paid for one in New York that was called Johnson O'Connor, and they were supposed to be the best. And all they basically told me was, don't be a brain surgeon.
Yeah.
Only because I didn't have very good tactile skills.
Yeah. So
you could be a baker or an accountant, or a whole list of things that none of which appeal to me. Right? Yeah. So so we get different ideas from different people all along the way, which is good. We really should be doing that. But if we knew our strategy, and like you, I mean, well, at least you know it now, Georgette. I didn't find it until after I was 50. And so you've made a lot of decisions up to that point, right? And so to kind of reverse course, takes a little bit of a change in your mindset and change in, and then you get to kind of steer the boat, right? So all of a sudden, and and by the time you're 30, 40, 50, steering the ship takes a lot more time than it might have when you were 18, right? So I love doing charts for younger people. Of course you can do it for anybody, even babies. I do charts for babies, because really this was created for the children. Ross said that when he created it in 1987, it was created for the children who were coming in, and all these kids who are coming in now, they're the ones who are going to solve pollution and all the environmental, industrial, all kinds of social justice and things like that. They're the ones who will be changing the world. And so they're coming in already knowing their life's purpose. For the rest of us, it's on our chart, but you can get your life's purpose, and we can talk through it if we do a session, by looking at a combination of what we call the incarnation cross, which is basically the story of your life if you're living out your strategy, in addition to your Chiron return and a few other things that are in the chart. But all of that put together helps you to see what you're really here to do. And their themes, it's not exact, but I can't tell you, in fact, I can tell you that I haven't ever talked to somebody who said, oh, I still have no idea when we got off the phone. Usually what happens is people are already on their path and they already know what they're doing. They just haven't kind of taken the next step to get there, either whether they have to sell something or get out of a business or quit their jobs or things like that, which is fine. Everybody should take their time. Do not go quit your job immediately. Just
No.
do it as it feels right for you. Some people can, Georgette, not everybody can.
Yeah.
And then it just some people need to take more time doing that. But then the other piece of it is that sometimes it was what they wanted to do when they were 20, right? It's what they really wanted to do when they went to college or to university or to technical school or whatever they did, but then they changed for some reason. And what happens? Life happens, right? A parent dies, or you have to go back home, or you have to move somewhere else, or you join the Army or the Navy, or who knows, things happen, life happens. But that usually, a lot of times, it's what people wanted to do when they first started out, right? Or what they wanted to do when they were 12, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the people who really had this burning desire. I talked to one guy who always wanted to be a pilot, just always really wanted to be a pilot. And, one day when he was about 15 or 16 and just starting to think about getting pilot lessons, his father said, what do you want to be a pilot for? That's just a glorified bus. He said, you're just busing people around the sky. And, this was like probably 35 years, 30, 40 years ago. He became a salesperson. His father said, go into sales. That's a good job. It's kind of like plastics, right? Go into sales. You'll always be able to feed your family with sales. So he did that. He got into sales. He did a good job. He was a great salesperson, but he was unfulfilled. He wasn't happy. And so come to find out, as he decided to, finally gets laid off from the sales job, takes pilot lessons, his flying lessons, becomes a pilot, becomes a wonderful instructor. And so he started his own company where he's now an instructor. He's instructing all these very wealthy people to learn to fly, and he loves it. So, here he is now in his 60s and having the time of his life because he's doing what he wants to do. And so shouldn't we all be doing what we want to do? And in human design, the funny thing is that if we're this piece of the puzzle and we're doing what we want to do, then you're in the right place, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're not doing what you're here to do, not only are you in the wrong place in the puzzle, you're also taking up somebody else's space in the puzzle.
Yeah.
So what good does that do, right? There's somebody who's obviously supposed to be in your chair or in your job or in your career, and you're taking up their space.
Yeah.
So that's the other reason I like doing human design, is because if all of us move to the right spots in the puzzle, the world would be a happy place.
Exactly. And what a perfect timing to do that right now, to have this.
This is a great time to reinvent yourself. If you're wanting to, think about doing something different, and knowing your life purpose helps. Right?
Yeah, of course. And with so many people being laid off right now, sadly, that those decisions that maybe you had postponed for a long time, like this, desire that you had repressed when you were 20 because life happened, like you said, life happened, and then you put that dream aside because you were told you're supposed to go to law school or you're supposed to become a doctor.
Right.
And now you're out of a job,
Mhm.
and then you're reassessing your life and you're asking yourself, okay, what's my next move?
Right.
So before you make your next move, why not ask help or from these wonderful tools that we have at our disposal, and take that tool and align. That's
Mhm.
the word, align with your purpose, align with that, and be move to the right space in the puzzle in order for us
Right.
to be able to weave together this beautiful tapestry of color of, you know, what we were meant to be doing in this lifetime as a collective, each one of us contributing to with our own particular signature, our own specific energy, our
Mhm.
own vibrational currency, like one of my favorite spiritual teachers likes to call it, our vibrational currency that we're going to exchange, and that's our gift. And when we are exchanging our gift, we are in flow, we are in
Exactly.
joy, and then we contribute to everybody being happier around us, like you said.
Right. Right. No, that's absolutely true. When people are really doing what they're here to do, they're in the flow. It just happens. It's just, it's beautiful to see. And it just happens so naturally when they get into the flow of what they're here to do. And it really, all of a sudden, the opportunities come to them, or the money comes to them, or the new people in their life come, or, it's just amazing. And that's why I knew I was doing the right thing when things just started happening that were really unexpected, right? That really, I wasn't expecting this bit of money. I wasn't expecting this to happen. I would, even finding this place in Florida, we had no idea what we were even looking for, but we made a list. We made a list before we left New Jersey to come down here and look. And I wrote a story about it in my book because it was just so lovely the way it happened. Just the way I made a list when I met my husband, I made a list for this new place that we found, and it had everything on the list, Georgette, except a gym in the building. And that to me was the universe saying, you better get your asses out of there and go get some exercise, right?
Yes.
Because it's so beautiful around here. Why wouldn't we want to swim or bike or go kayaking and things like that?
Yeah.
And so even in this time of relative quiet, we went kayaking on Sunday morning, and it was so peaceful and it was so lovely. And even the fish weren't jumping too much. Even they were taking it easy. They were kind of chilling. But sometimes we've seen dolphins out there, and that's why I say swim with the dolphins, because, or kayak with the dolphins, because we've gone out in the intercoastal so many times, and we see dolphins swimming together, and they usually swim in pairs, which is so cute. But then sometimes we'll see a whole flock of them, and they're feeding. It's just amazing. So we love the nature down here, and we love, the place we found. And it's really, to be honest, nothing we were thinking about when we were in New Jersey. So the universe really came through and provided for us in a way that was just miraculous.
Yeah.
And, it's part of the reason I feel like it's what I'm supposed to be doing. It's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help people. And my currency is kind of inner peace. That's what I provide, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you how many people, I don't know how to put it in other words though, in the things I write. So I call it inner peace, but that's what it provides. That's what human design provides, because all of a sudden you get all the answers you were always asking, all those funny things that pop into our heads, like, why did I do this? Or why does that matter to me? Or why do I care about this so much? It all gets answered in your chart.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
all gets answered. And so all those weird questions that you never had anybody to ask the questions of, I can answer them because I can see them in your chart. So that's what really feels good for people, and then provides that inner peace.
Yeah. And it's a great tool. It's a great tool to get started, right? Because you need people like Karen who will give you answers to questions that you've been asking yourself. But there's that part. But don't expect Karen to do the work for you, right? Like you have guys, like once you have the
Well,
guy,
I'll give you a plan.
yeah, exactly. You have to take action, because you know how we covered the chakras in the previous videos, in the previous lessons. how the universe works is that we allow this wisdom, this knowledge to come through us, and then we have to ground it. We have to clear the blockages in order for us to move forward with this, but at least knowing where we're going. That also brings me back to another topic that I covered, direction. Once we have that direction, we're able to see where we're going, we're able to craft strategy, carry out a plan. And that's why I love all of these, all of these topics so much, because it's, I said, my mission in life is to bridge spirituality and science. And I think that human design does it beautifully, like you
Yeah.
said in the
Well,
beginning.
that's what drew me to it, Georgette.
Yeah.
Because it was a combination of the spirituality and the science. It answered all the questions, all the big questions. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? And then it did it in a very scientific way, because I can point to the chart, and I can point to all the lines and circles and everything that's on there, and tell you exactly what's in there and why it works, and why it's there.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. It's we're so lucky that we were in this lifetime to have that tool developed, because it's new. It's very new. It's less than, my math is off, a little bit over 30 years, right? A little bit over 30 years old only.
Yeah, it's just 87, so 33 years old this year.
Yeah.
So anybody who's 33 and younger, they're the ones who are now bringing the new ideas forward.
Yeah. And for
you can see that with the kids who are the activists, for example. They're the ones who are going to change the world.
Yeah.
And with this little pause that we have, this gives everybody an opportunity to kind of reinvent and see how we're going to look on after it's over.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen. Thank you for bringing such a beautiful gift to us today. Your wisdom, your experience, and everything you've learned about human design. I bet that most people in the group didn't even know it existed. I didn't know it existed up until maybe 6 months ago. But I never really looked into it until we were provided with the opportunity of getting on a call with you, with all of the authors in this book, and you talked about human design, and it was like the universe's way or nudge to letting me know that I had to dig a little deeper, even though I already thought I had dug deep. No, there's always the rabbit hole goes as,
yes, the rabbit hole continues.
Yeah.
There's always something new to find.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Like I said, it's just the journey, the human experience is just something that is, the journey of self-discovery is never ending, at least in this lifetime, in this human experience.
But human design brings a lot of self-awareness, and then from that you can really learn a lot just from the awarenesses you gain from a session.
Yeah. So now we have
it keeps giving, let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. So you guys, now we have the time to dig deep into those questions that we were always asking ourselves. We have the tools, and we have a great resource here, Karen. So Karen, if anyone is interested in having their human design chart done by you, where can they find you?
So they can go to the website, livingbyhumandesign.com, and there's a section called services. If you wanted to have a session with me, I do sessions for individuals, but I also work with couples, partners in business also, and entrepreneurs and families. So if you have children and you want to talk with about the partners and then talk about the children, we can do that as well. So any or all of the above are, I'll be happy to run their charts. And the charts are always free on the website. So if you go to livingbyhumandesign.com, you'll see a little box that says get your free chart. And if you click on that, then you can get your free chart. And then I'll follow up with information, of course, and let you know a little bit more about your energy type, and their videos and all kinds of good free stuff on the website.
Amazing. Now we have the time, guys. No excuse to know ourselves better. This is the time. We're being called finally to dig deep and go deep into the rabbit hole, as deep as we want to go. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you,
Georgette. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, I enjoyed your energy, your wisdom. Always a pleasure, and I look forward to having another conversation with you soon.
Yeah, me too.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you for tuning in.
Bye.